That whole Garden of Eden up, putting slander on our Lord. Talking about an apple tree. Oh, and they ate the apple. Hey, my God don't fuck with fruit like that. What the fuck? You act like God will put our whole life on the line over a piece of fruit, bitch? If God didn't want you to eat the fruit, him wouldn't have made the fruit. They just covering up a lie. Cause the truth too painful. Ain't no motherfucking apple tree, bitch. You are the tree. This the tree. You the tree, bitch. You are the tree. All right, so if you the tree, then what the fuck is the fruit? This the fruit. If this a tree, this the fruit. The message was, don't touch the fruit.
What's going on, TikTok? It's Colin Bellamy giving y'all another update. If y'all haven't been watching the news, the United States have now announced that TikTok is a national security threat. Why? I think we all know the answer to that. It's time for everybody to wake up and stop going against each other and recognize who the real enemy is. You got young kids on Instagram and Facebook having shootouts and beefing with rivalry gangs, but these apps aren't national security threats. You got parents soliciting their kids for likes, dressing babies up as if they were grown. There's a whole IG and Facebook page that has kids as young as the ages 3 and 4, boys and girls, learning how to use a stripper pole. But once again, that's not a national security threat. Wake up, we've been being lied to for too long. Lied to about our real historical facts. Lied to in school, we even get lied to on the news. Ask yourself, why is healthcare free in other countries? The United States will literally let you die if you can't afford the surgery, make us pay for insurance, and that still doesn't cover the full cost. Everybody who gets on here speaking out automatically becomes a target. I've been in jail for a month now. Even after I bonded out, I was still held here. I go to court March 14th at 2 p.m. for probation revocation. I've never been on probation in my life. So for them to bring me in front of a judge as if I violated probation is just wicked. I've never raped or killed anyone, yet I don't have a bond. Last year in October, a guy nearly killed my brother, had him on life support for over a month, and even he was granted a bond and bonded out. The same judge that granted him a bond took mine away. Why is that? Because waking up people is a national security threat, huh? Ryan Garcia just exposed him. Now they're saying he's crazy and not mentally stable to fight. Orlando Brown, Cat Williams, Trevor Moore, Rashad Jamal, Kanye West, B.O.B. I mean, the list goes on. Ryan Garcia just got on TikTok yesterday and stated that there is a lot more islands like Jeffrey Epstein's island. How ironic, Oprah and The Rock have their island in Hawaii, and we all know how much they both love pizza. The truth is more scary, and 2024 been exposing all evil. I just hope y'all paying attention. They testing us to see how we react. AT&T was just down. Right after that, every social media site ran by the U.S. went down. Next, they'll do the power outage test. Something big is going down before the election, mark my words. But anyway, to all my fans and supporters, I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all. Keep praying and sharing my videos, and remember that anything helps.
Just know this. A real witch that's really tapped into this shit gonna be 100 with you at all times. Know that. A real witch is not gonna do no evil spells, no wicked shit, none of that shit. None of it. Because there's levels to this shit. And when you really come from the real cosmos, when you really highly ranked, you know better. But when you don't, and when you trying to be a doppelganger, you trying to be some shit that you ain't, that's when you fuck around and you find out the motherfucking hard way. You start fucking with shit you had no business fucking with. And then shit start happening to your motherfucking ass. You wonder why shit start happening to your motherfucking ass. Because you trying to go up against a motherfucker that you should know you have no goddamn business trying to go up against. If you really so motherfucking tapped in, you would know who the fuck you fucking with.
Hey y'all, so Ryan Garcia just posted this on his TikTok channel. And this right here is honestly pretty creepy, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This bird doesn't move at all. And y'all know these damn tiny birds, even if you're sitting next to them, they land next to you, and you just move a little bit, they're gonna fly away. Homie's out there like yelling at it, telling it to shoo and everything. It's just standing there and looking at him. Y'all remember that people that were going around the country in that van that said birds are not real and the government has like spy birds everywhere? I think they got a point, bro. Look at this bird right here. Ain't no way it's real, bro. It don't never move except to like adjust the lens to look at him better with his camera eyes. The Illuminati think they slick, bro. They got freaking CIA technology to spy on Ryan Garcia. But honestly, I don't even know why. Like, none of the stuff he revealed is that extraordinary. It's all the stuff we've been hearing anyway. But this bird right here makes Ryan a little bit more credible, bro. Cause y'all know that's a damn spy bird, bro. If I was Ryan, I would have tried to smack it.
Is what you were waiting for. The direct interview with the pilot who transported the 15 feet tall Kandahar giant.
Back in 2005, I was actually stationed or deployed to Qatar. It was a completely normal mission for us. We were not alerted for anything abnormal. It was in the middle of the day. I remember coming into a base in Afghanistan called Bagram. Back in those days, it was pretty austere. It was an old Russian air base that we were using. It's basically built in a bowl in the mountains where you have to stay high right up in the last minute, and then you basically come screaming back down to land. The area to the side of it was called the Valley of Death because during the Soviet days with the Mujahideen, they had fired their rockets into a lot of the helicopters, so you could see all kinds of wrecks and stuff in the valley below, which for the most part I didn't pay attention to because I was a little busy getting the airplane on the ground safely. We landed and basically was told to taxi to the very end of the tarmac. And like I said, it was middle of the day, very hot. I remember that. We opened the doors and unloaded the equipment that we had brought in. And then we were met at the aircraft by what we later on called the babysitters. But they kind of introduced themselves and said, hey, no cameras, nobody's taking pictures here. We're moving some high-value stuff. When the load got there, we're very, of course, curious to see what it was, because that's just the way you are when you're told that you're not allowed to have a camera. They say this thing had been dead for maybe a day or two, but it stunk. And when I say stunk, I've smelled dead things before, but this had a more of a, I want to say a musky stink, kind of a, not really a decay, but more of a, if somebody hadn't taken a shower in like 10 years type of a musky stink is all I can tell you. And it was basically a dead guy. And this guy was extremely large. And when I say large, our pallets are basically, if I remember correctly, about 9 by 12 feet or so. This guy was laying in a fetal position on the pallet. So he filled the pallet. We estimated his size at approximately 12 to 10 feet tall. I did see his skin color. I was expecting somebody of more Arabic descent, being in Afghanistan and all. I know he was dead, but he was very pale, very white. Another thing that us and the rest of the crew did was we took our feet. He was in a fetal position, so you could take your feet and put it, kind of, you could see where his feet were there, and they were wrapped up. He did not have shoes on, but he had like, looked like he was wrapping them in some kind of a canvas type stuff. But we were sticking our feet up next to his feet, and his feet were extremely big. We know that the standard weight on one of those pallets is about 1,500 pounds, and I do remember that the loadmaster did the weights, and it was around 1,100-pound guy. The pallet sits on dunnage. You know what dunnage is? It's basically like railroad ties so that you can get a forklift underneath it and pick it up. So it was on dunnage, and basic dunnage is like maybe a 4x4. And then the pallet is, say, yay thick. It's actually aluminum and balsa wood. And this guy, I mean, laying down was very, very wide. I mean, and he was, like I said, he's in a fetal position, and you go up and just, you hit it, and of course he's under a tarp and all that, I understand that, but he was a dense guy. we questioned the babysitters of, hey, where'd you get this guy? And some of the Army guys that were with him relayed to us that this guy had, I guess, been living up in the mountains next to a village where the villagers basically treated him like a god. I did infer that they were making sacrifices to this guy because they said they found bones of people. The giant supposedly, like I said, I was not there, supposedly killed the first team that they came across. He was extremely big and fast and agile for a guy that size. They sent up another team, and when the second team went in there to get him, supposedly he had already started to basically eat on the team that had been killed the first time. They then grabbed a helicopter, and the helicopter brought him down where we picked him up. After we loaded the giant, it was just a standard mission back. We took him all the way back to LIABILITY in Qatar, where he was transloaded onto another airplane. I believe it was a C-17. I was done with my mission then. I got away from it. I was done. I did ask some questions later of, where it might have gone. And as the grapevine goes, it was probably taken back to the United States. And the words I heard were right, Pat. But again, I don't know.
Based on trade, it's simple. Everybody's just trading out there. There's a few wars, but basically it's trade. And what is the most valuable item in all that trade? DNA. And what's the most valuable item in the DNA is the ones who have a soul. Why did the Greys and the Dracos pay the ones who tricked MJ-12 to only abduct those with indigenous blood? They were after the lucid dreamers. Why? Because they knew the Grail, the implosion in that blood was big bucks. I mean, high leverage. I mean, high value. I mean, tornado steering.
Before it was considered reservations, what were they called? Concentration camps. Before concentration camps, they were called public labor camps.
Labor camp.
Did we see any Native Americans go through so-called slavery? Because that's the land that they're talking about. Were they on the plantations? No. These people are brand new. They just got here. And you can't trace Native American to American Indian by way of paperwork. That's a brand new term that just started in the 1970s. I put that out there too. The first time that you heard the term Native American was from the Native American Party, the Know Nothings, the third largest political party during the time period of the Federalists and the Whigs. They were fighting for rights then, as foreigners. So that's why I tell people to stop calling yourself Native, because that has nothing to do with you. You're indigenous to this land. You're not a visitor. This is how you know it was us first.
New discovery, which has not yet been published. It relates directly to the black communities across America. After here, I'm going to Bimini. As she said, I'm also going to speak at the Washington Conference again in Louisiana about this. Free. But before I tell you about that, people will say, well, big deal, so what? Why is history important at all? History is extremely important. Imagine if I could take from each one of you as an individual everything you knew about life to last week and just erase it. Where would you be? You'd be lost. You'd be incompetent. You wouldn't know how to plan for the future. And you do the same thing with a people. If you erase their history or you don't tell enough about their past, they also become incompetent and they can't fulfill the future. And that's why a lot of people in the black community have felt, well, how come all of the dreams of the civil rights movement aren't yet fulfilled? And one reason is because this history is still suppressed. It still isn't taught. But there's been a recent discovery which is going to blow the lid off of all that. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, basically, what science has now found, although this is suppressed for the most part, there have been some great researchers. You have some wonderful books like by Ivan van Sertima, who's talking about these things. This is not taught in your public schools, although it will be. The history that the children are learning today is not history that's going to be taught in the next 25 years. It's going to be radically different. We now know for a fact that long before Columbus, there were 4 major migrations of blacks to the Americas, different parts of the Americas, for totally different reasons, totally separated from each other by many centuries. But nonetheless, there were these black You can call them migrations, but they were not in China. I'll describe it. You can make up your own mind what they were. The most recent of these took place about 400 years before Columbus was even born, and it's all outlined in a marvelous book over there. It's called The Golden Trade of the Moors. And it is now known that the West African Kingdom of Mali had huge fleets of merchant vessels, and that these kings, these black kings of West Africa, began sailing across the Atlantic to Mexico as early as 900 AD. Now, why did they do that? They did that for trade, not for conquest or invasion. They did this for trade. Mali was very wealthy in gold. They had lots of minerals. Some of the black kingdoms, they were called the Yoruba or the Benin. They were great workers in bronze. But the trouble with West Africa, and it's still a trouble today, not enough food, famine. Somehow, the black kings of Mali had preserved this tradition long before, where there was this kingdom across the sea, a totally different one. It was very hard to reach. You needed to have excellent ships and good sailors, and nobody in Europe was doing it at this time. But if you cross that sea, this other kingdom across the Atlantic was very rich in a certain kind of food, which the people over there called maize. We now call corn. And these West African kings launched at least 2 major fleet trading ventures that went across the Atlantic 900 AD to about 1600 AD. And they brought over their bronze work, and they taught the Mexican people, the ancient Mexican people, who were then known as the Mayas. The Mayas had built up a great kingdom of their own, but in 900 AD they were in decline. They were really on the outs. Nobody knows exactly why, but their society was in decline. They were losing all their technology. Then these black fleets came across from West Africa, from Mali, and they presented a lot of gold work, bronze work, and in return, they came back with shiploads of corn, maize. Now, we know for sure that this actually happened because very recently, you'll see in the next issue of our magazine, not this issue, the next issue is coming out in about 2 weeks. This is part of it. The discoveries are happening so fast and furious, it's hard to keep track. They now have found that a certain type of maize or corn, which is growing in West Africa, has been growing there for many centuries, is not native to West Africa. It is a type of corn which comes from Mexico, could have only been brought over by these Mali seafarers over 1,000 years ago. So this is a first concrete proof that they beat Columbus by centuries, and we're not just on a voyage of exploration. They were going back and forth, bringing corn back. Now, why do we know about that? Well, this trade stopped abruptly 1600 AD. 1600 AD, the Spanish, the Portuguese run a real aggressive colonizing campaign, and they took over Africa, and they destroyed a lot of these kingdoms. And with the destruction of these kingdoms went all the knowledge and all the history of these past trades. This is a tremendous lesson for us because, you know, we're so proud of our American civilization. We think it'll go on forever. But when a civilization falls, history tells us it takes almost all memory of it with it. Civilization is really very fragile. And that's why these lessons from the past are very, very important. If we want to preserve our civilization, we have to learn what happened to these others that crashed. So we know for sure between 900 and 1600 AD, long before Columbus was even born, as I say, these blacks were trading, these black kingdoms were trading with Mexico. I have to refer to my notes just because this is new to me as well. There's also traditions in Mexico, ancient Mexico, of these black kings coming. And one of them was called, by the Mayas, if I pronounce this right, Ecchua, which means the black calabash or the black gourd. It referred not only to his black skin color, but also this gourd that he brought over. This gourd has been portrayed in these Maya hieroglyphs. This guy is portrayed as a West African type man, robes and everything. And he's holding a gourd in these glyphs. That gourd has actually been identified as a West African type of gourd. So here we're having wonderful proof that there were these contacts between Africa and Mexico, and they actually referred to him. by this name. And it shows that the Mayas and these Mali civilizers, these Mali traders, got along really well. It wasn't a conquest. It wasn't one society taking over another. They both had things to offer each other. The Africans had to offer metallurgy and gold, and the Mayas had to offer corn.
Said, you know, there's actual beings that do what you're doing, and they don't use equipment. I said, no, you need equipment to do this. And he said, do you ever hear of dolphins? I said, Flipper? You want me to go see Flipper? And he said, yeah. You know, dolphins have been doing this for about 10 million years? I said, huh? He said, no, really. And at that time, I hadn't had a chance to get to a place where I could actually check out these dolphins and see if they were actually doing scanning and then actually doing treatment. But I was invited to go to Egypt. Someone also in that same workshop said, you're talking about resonance, you're talking about waveforms, you're talking about energy. Did you know that the ancients used to do this? I said, no. I said, I'm going to send you to Egypt. And I got to Egypt and found myself going on an initiation, literally taken from temple to temple. I was led into the Great Pyramid alone during the day when it was closed for restoration. And when it's closed for restoration, apparently they turn on the volume of the energy fields inside of the pyramid. The pyramid is an acoustical device. The shape of it is kind of neat, but the acoustical cavities inside are the actual waveform generators. And of course, like in any old experimenter, I just said, I wonder what this does, and pressed the on button for the pyramid, and boy was I in for a surprise. I ended up meeting Source, going through the Eye of Horus, experiencing at one-ment with the allness, and I was given a command. And it said, get the word back to the people. I said, what? It said, get the word back to the people. The word is the vibration that you've been looking for that takes thought form and manifests it into actual matter. You had asked back in '73 if you could be of service. Took you a while. It was now 1987. Christmas Day, 1987. It's quite an experience. So right about noon that day, I got the energy equations to put into the projection system. And I was told, oh, by the way, your teachers are going to be dolphins because they've used this energy pattern for millions of years. I said, this is too much. This is too much. So we went full circle. I made the original request to help and be of service. The key words are, I choose to help and be of service. So if you do that and you ask, it happens. Now for me, so it took 13 years. So I'm a little slow. So the presentation that we'll have this morning will be the actual projector system, how it can be used with the body to be able to heal and help the body. There'll be some programs, brain clearing, addictions clearing, antiviral, DNA regeneration. DNA regeneration is a big one. You know that DNA is an actual holographic pattern itself. It is a frequency space generator. When we can work in frequency space, whatever it takes to get into that space, and if we have the word energy associated with it, we now no longer need brute force. We can use trickles of energy.
Now, this is the reason why TikTok will be banned very soon, okay? Because the truth is being poured forth throughout the earth at a rapid rate, okay? Many people are waking up, number one, to the Father's name, which is Yahuwah, and his son's name, which is Yahusha. This is national security, to know the Father's name and to be calling on the Father's name. National security. Okay, that's a threat. And also, the true people are being exposed throughout the earth. Too many people are waking up. And now, the land. Where is the land? We see that Saudi Arabia, Mystery Babylon. Okay, Mount Sinai is in Arabia, so Mystery Babylon is in Arabia, not America. Okay, this is where the Messiah was crucified.
Great Wall of China. This is the steepest part of the Great Wall of
You ever wonder why the Great Wall of China is so perfectly geometrically shaped? Well, it's not a wall.
Check out Game of Thrones intro.
Why is the borders open, though? Because the United States is in a real tough pickle right now. In my generation, we worked hard. I worked for Verizon. But my kids, your generation, y'all not going to do sanitation work, pick up garbage. Y'all not going to be postal workers. Y'all not going to be electricians. You're not going to be plumbers. You're not going to do constructions. Y'all starting podcasts. Y'all thinking about other ways of making money. What does that mean if these jobs are not being filled? They create programs for the migrants where they're giving them rent, they're giving them money. In Chicago, they have a program where they give them $9,000 every 6 months. So that's $18,000 a year for rent. That's an average of about $1,500 to $1,300 a month. That's good rent for somebody, right? So now they living in all these places. Your generation, your kids, y'all are not buying houses, bro. So you know what that is? Y'all not getting mortgages. United States needs people to get mortgages. Y'all are not going to college no more. Y'all not creating college debt. United States needs college debt. Y'all are entrepreneurs. Y'all are not joining the military. The military is depleted. That's why they're having things like proxy wars, where they got the drones dropping bombs because they don't have enough military. Y'all are not doing the things that I did, my grandparents did when they came here. So they bringing in millions of new people who are going to do these things.
Dear world, I have been told by many that the releasing of this truth may pose certain challenges in my life. There are many institutions that this truth will be viewed as disruptive to their system of profit and gains. I want to live a happy and peaceful life, and I pray for longevity. Not just for me, but for our entire species. Know that I would never harm myself nor anyone else for that matter. Nevertheless, if my life has to face certain challenges so that this planet can be saved, please do not let these trials that I may have to face be in vain, and pray for me as I am praying for you. Sincerely, Terrence Deshaun Howard, May 25th, 2019. Just so that it would always be known, I should never walk out there alone or harm myself. So if something happens to me and someone says that he committed that he did, no, I would never, ever do that. Know that somebody else did that. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Remember, I made the videos, multiple of them. Sure you do.
Everybody is talking about this this secret bloodline that the people of this dimension is looking for. I wasn't going to speak on this because I wasn't going to get into that on TikTok. The bloodline that they're looking for is the original bloodline, the bloodline that was not tampered with. The bloodline that they are looking for is the RH null. They're not looking for the RH negative. They're not looking for the RH positive. They're looking for the RH null. The RH null bloodline is the original bloodline that they started out with. But when they made these other beings with this specific bloodline, it failed. So what they did was they trashed the bloodline. They trashed it. And they went on with the other bloodlines that they already had. Every now and then, this bloodline that they trashed, that they got rid of, it pops up. It pops up out of the blue. It comes out of the blue. So they looking for this specific bloodline that they got rid of in the very beginning. This was the actual first bloodline that was created during the creation of man. They need that bloodline because that bloodline is pure. And if that bloodline is pure, they can do whatever they want to do to this particular bloodline. Now, it's not that many people on earth with this bloodline. It might be about no more than probably 50 of them. Not even that many. Because the majority of the people in this bloodline has already died off. It's not that many people left. Okay, so they need this particular bloodline because this bloodline is going to start the beginning of the new creation. Because the new creation that they started in this beginning, the bloodline was trash. They couldn't do anything with it. So they started on what they already had and created us. That's why you have many forms of bloodlines, B negative, B positive, A positive. Because throughout our generation and history, besides the Anunnakis, it was other beings that also tainted with our bloodline and our DNA. So right now, we are about to go through another type of being that is going to mess with our DNA. So you know how we got AB positive, AB negative, B positive, O positive. We're about to come into another bloodline that they are going to create. And this bloodline that they are going to create, they need the original null blood to create the new blood, because the new blood that they are going to create is for the new beings. So in this new world, in this new generation, in this new life, you're not going to have A positive, B positive, O negative. You're going to have a complete new bloodline with a whole new name, a whole new way of how it gets into your body. But they need the original bloodline to start. Just like how that woman that's from Baltimore, she died many, many years ago, and her blood, her DNA is still healing people today. They need that original bloodline. And not that many people is left. So they're going through ancestry to see can they find it, but they're not going to find it there. And to be real honest, they're never going to find that particular bloodline. They never. And if they do find it, believe me, it's not going to be from the person who they want it from. And by the time the solar flare activate, the bloodline that they are really looking for, they're not looking for the bloodline because it's going to activate it. They are looking for the bloodline because they're trying to create a new being. A new being. Remember, we are all generics of a being that was already created. We are all generics from that, okay? They need the original beings to create the new beings. We are not the original beings. We come from the original being. The original beings that started with the creation of us, they got rid of it. But it's still some that pops up every now and then, okay? And in this new generation, they need that same being to start the new bloodline, because their bloodline is pure. Ours is not. Ours is generics, okay? It came from generics. So it's more about this bloodline. This is why I told y'all, if y'all go deeper in my page, I told y'all to research your blood and to investigate your blood, because your blood has power in it. I talked about this blood. It's just that the thing that I talk about it way ahead of time. And by the time y'all really need the information now, I done already talked about this shit months and months ago. So in order for you to get your blood information, you got to go down in my page. But yes, we are in the process of the new world order system, the new being, the new way of life, the new God, the new everything. So y'all about to come into some beings that ain't going to look like us. But if you don't want to be into this new world, you're going to die off. Because if you're going to look like these new beings that is coming on this planet, you're going to have to follow by their rules, and you're going to have to sign your name over. You're going to have to take the mark if you want to be a part of the new being that they are trying to create. If you don't, your human ass ain't going to last on this planet that they are trying to create, because you're human, and humans are not allowed here anymore. It's a new world, new way of living, new beings, new creation, new God, new way of living. New blood, new everything.
Alors, tu fais bon maçon, hein, Pascal, hein? Pascal, elle est Pascal, elle est
Attention, America!
They worked with us to make this happen. And what this is, and I want everybody to see it clearly, federal policy drives illegal immigrant crime and victimization. And that's the focus, other than our victims of human trafficking. Listen, folks, I want to introduce you to Andres Gill, okay? Here's this guy. He's also on this board, but get a look at him for a second. He came down here from New York with 3 females. All of them are in the country illegally. Did you hear what I said? They're all here illegally. He's the one that comes with them to drive them. These ladies are all controlled by a human trafficker. We think their human trafficker is a female. She sets up their appointments, she puts their ads online, she tells them where to go. And by the way, on Friday, the victims of human trafficking, and we've grayed them out, 3 of them that are here illegally from Venezuela, 3 of them have to pay her $3,000 apiece on Friday, or else they're threatened. So they're not free. They're really indentured, and they're quote unquote paying off their debt. Now here's what they told us, all right? I'm sure the federal government will verify that this is not true, but you decide who you want to believe, whether you want to believe these victims of human trafficking or the whitewash the federal authorities give you. They said that when they came into the country illegally, DHS gave them a form, an ID, paperwork that allows them to fly for free. You know, Southwest would let your bags fly free. Well, the federal government will let your illegal immigrants fly free. And they operate out of New York. And they were working up there, and the New York authorities said, hey, if you don't have identification, you can't work in our sex trade up here. You know, we don't allow sex trade here at all, but New York will allow you to do some stuff if you've got the proper authority. So they say they make a lot of money. They're addicted to it. These ladies are going to give you more details. They tell us that they fly to major metro centers for free on the federal government, where they set up their appointments for sex all around the country. Did you hear what I said? Listen, folks, if they don't pay $3,000 apiece on Friday, they're in trouble. The human trafficker sets up the deal. Hey, this deal is just outside of Tampa. They say they show this ID, this card, this paper, they fly for free down here. Then they fly back. But we heard a similar theme from all 21 of these folks. We can't work legally. We're addicted to this cash. It's a lot of cash and it's quick, so we have to give $3,000 a week. We get to keep everything above that. We have a crisis at the border. And because of the crisis at the border, we have people that are victimizing illegal folks, forcing them into the sex trade because we allow these criminals in the country illegally. We all rail about this and nobody pays any attention. And then we want to politic everything. Oh, we had a good piece of legislation that limited the average to only 5,000 illegals a day in the country, and then we can shut it off. Well, if you can shut it off at 5,000 people illegally coming in this country a day, you can shut it off at no people illegally coming in this country a day. But the politicians are politicking while the victims are being victimized.
Federal policy drives illegal immigrant crime and victimization.
Did you hear what I said?
I mean, us black people, we already thought and knew. We don't think nothing. We knew that y'all brought, you know what I'm saying, illegal drugs, cocaine and all that, doing with the DEA and the federal government. Y'all making shows now about that. We already knew that, right? And y'all covered it up, threw it all in our systems. We got crackheads to this day, destroyed the black homes. You know what I'm saying? Y'all did this. But to human trafficking, the audacity, the federal government. Did y'all hear what this just said? Now, I know this is a long video, but did y'all hear what this man just said? And he had to throw up the whistleblower. That's what the sheriff is doing. He's a whistleblower. Because somebody had leaked it to the federal government because he wanted to keep it on the low, but he had to tell it because, shoot, the federal government already trying to cover it up. So it's us to the people. We have to believe and know that they're doing wrong and want to change this, because if we don't sit here and don't say nothing and allow this stuff to continue happening, y'all, the federal government, they're going to continue to thrive and continue to make money and continue to corrupt and, do whatever they do, continue to take our money, you know what I'm saying, and leave us high and dry. That's what's going to happen, people. Y'all need to wake up what's going on and what was just now said. Wake up what the federal government is doing. This is the sheriff telling on white people, telling on white people. That's what's going on. And listen, I'm going to stand back and watch them tell on each other and say, and start jotting it down. Oh, they doing this. Oh, they doing that. They doing that. And they doing this. Because at the end of the day, man, y'all wrong.
Breaking news, this is the balloon that was just found in Alaska and delivered back to the government. I believe it's being taken to Virginia. Now there's some things in here that I find that's very interesting. One is you can see the size of this. This is definitely something that's not a weather balloon as you see here. But look at this, if the junk that's going on. You see that guy? He just spun that like a propeller, which is very interesting because people were able to see that when the balloons flew over America a little over a year ago. Also watch this guy's hands of him picking up a cylinder piece, which is something that can go together with also this green stuff that's laying around. Now I'm not able to show you, but if you were to zoom in on that, you can tell that that stuff is more than likely things of like a computer chip, your video cards that go into your computers. That's exactly what this type of stuff looks like. And there's a ton of this that is laying around in there. You see how there's even more that's back here. So it's interesting to what you're seeing here. The next thing is you can see that these poles are chopped up. So it makes me wonder if whoever was flying these over knew that this one dropped, came and took out the main part of it, and then was hoping that all of this stuff would sink. Next, pay attention to all these lines that are laying across here. So this is one of the balloons that was flying over last year, and this was taken by Dragon Lady. This is the wing, this is the shadow that's on the balloon. These are very large, but I want you to pay attention to the lines that are coming off of here. Those were likely to sit here and hold the stuff up, as well as tethered lines to sit there and hold it while this thing was being lifted off. But as you see, that is possibly what all this white line is here. Now this thing looks like it could be the top, the bottom. I have no idea of what this contraption is that's attached to the balloon. I'll play the video so you can see it, but yeah, I just have no idea of what that is. So do you think that this is a different type of balloon, like a weather balloon? Or do you think that this is one of those balloons that is taking place? Also, by the way, I will tag this gentleman in the comments. Take care. God bless.